Hi guys, I'm Adam Wilborn from WhatCulture.
And I'm Andy Murray from WhatCulture, and today I'm going to tell you all about Vince McMahon apparently becoming a running joke backstage in WWE. I'm going to tell you about MJF's life-threatening injury. It's not really life-threatening. And I'm going to tell you all about WWE's plans for Rob Gronkowski before he buggered off back to the NFL.
Plus, as it stands, SummerSlam in Boston is still going ahead, and we all know about how Stella got her groove back, but I'm going to tell you how Cody got his name back. This is the news.
Very nicely done indeed. But we're going to kick things off by talking about WWE, specifically Vince McMahon and his recent temper in WWE. As you can imagine, the guy's had a lot on his plate at the moment. The XFL's collapsed, he's getting sued, there's an ongoing terrible global situation that is kind of strangling his product and so forth. It's not an easy time to be the WWE chairman. However, new report here from Mike Johnson, PW Insider, Elite Audio. I'm going to read to you fellas and ladies what he said. This is direct quotations. A couple of weeks ago, Vince McMahon was a grumpy SOB because of the XFL going down, and I got calls from people who I knew. Those people were like, yeah, I'm going to stay out of the building for as long as I can and sit in my car or take the widest path that I can to stay out of his way and stay out of his vision. People actively avoiding Vince McMahon in WWE at the moment. He goes on, it's a running joke in the company. You know, it's great to do well in WWE and it's great to get a raise and a promotion, but the raise and the promotion you don't want to get is the one that's going to put you in direct sight of Vince McMahon. Sounds like the wrestlers are kind of having a laugh at their boss's expense here. I can imagine that Vince hasn't been the happiest camper in the world at the moment backstage at WWE shows, and people seem to be picking up for that and having a little bit of a laugh.
Yeah, I mean, no great surprise again here that Vince McMahon pretty grumpy after the goings on with numerous companies of his over the last few weeks. I just like the image of someone chatting to someone else and then them hearing Vince is coming, and then just like, I don't know, diving into a flight case and just slowly peeking out to see if he's gone by, or hiding behind a curtain. You basically don't want to catch his eye at any time during this period, because either you're going to get a bollocking, or apparently you're going to get released.
Yeah, he's not a guy I would want to cross, even if he was in a good mood. He's just a weird dude, Vince. He's got weird energy, unique energy. I can't imagine that working there at the moment is a whole lot of fun with certain restrictions in the taping schedules and stuff. It is what it is, man. Vince is Vince, and in times of global panic, he's extremely Vince, it seems.
Yeah, he becomes, I don't know what, I've never seen Dragon Ball Z, but like Super Saiyan Vince, is that a thing?
I think, no, that's a Pokemon thing, I think.
Oh, God. Well, at least you know what the comments are going to be today.
Hentai, yeah.
Right, let's talk about SummerSlam. Of course, it is meant to be going down in Boston, Massachusetts, the TD Garden, set to host it on the 23rd of August. Although, considering the way literally the entire world is right now, I assume that shouldn't be happening. I say I assume that shouldn't be happening because according to Cage Side Seats Rumour Roundup, the venue, quote, hasn't heard anything from WWE about changes to the plans for SummerSlam. So as of right now, SummerSlam is still going ahead. I mean, the pay-per-view, obviously it will keep going ahead because WWE just cannot stop themselves, apparently. But surely it won't be... They can't put it on at the TD Garden, can they?
This is the kind of thing where you've got to think that, SummerSlam's 4 months away. The Money in the Bank announcement was only a couple of weeks ago, like 4 weeks before the event or whatever. WrestleMania was another last-minute decision. It's the kind of thing where WWE seemed to content to let the building go, hey, it's cancelled, so that they can pass the building off as the one who are the bad guys or whatever. That was what the case was with Money in the Bank and WrestleMania. Maybe that's what we'll see again. I suspect there's not a snowball's chance in hell this thing goes down in Boston. And you know what else there's no chance of happening at Boston SummerSlam? Rob Gronkowski wrestling. So this is a new report from WrestlingNews.co's Andrew Ravens, stating that before Gronk secured his NFL return and the contract with the Tampa Bay Beefy Boys, WWE wanted him to wrestle at SummerSlam. It's in Boston. He played most of his all of his football career, his pro football career, in the Boston area with the New England Silly Men. However, now that he's going back to football, that can't happen. He can't wrestle. Quote here from Mike Florio, tremendous name of Football Talk, says that Gronk is forbidden from taking part in any activity other than football which may involve significant risk of personal injury while he's contracted to play football for the Buccaneers. So it's not happening. It's off. We're gonna have to wait a while longer for what would be Gronk's first official match, I guess, unless we're counting the 24/7 stuff as a match.
Which we aren't. Yeah, that makes complete sense. I mean, Pac-Man Jones wasn't allowed to wrestle in TNA, and he was an awful person. Now, I'm not saying Gronk is a saint, but also, yeah, Tampa Bay Buccaneers are not going to allow him to even take one single bump. But it all does seem to make sense. Obviously, WrestleMania was going to be in Tampa, and then, obviously he was going to be involved in that in a far greater capacity, and it's all sort of fallen apart. I mean, I'm sure Gronk will be absolutely fine, but yeah, he couldn't really host WrestleMania in the way he was wanting to, and now he's obviously signed with the Buccaneers. It would have been interesting to see how he would have handled a match in WWE. I suspect a lot of smoke and mirrors would have been going on there. But let's be honest, Gronk was the second best host of WrestleMania, and yeah, SummerSlam's a weird one because I realise some people will say, well, but it's 4 months away, and we better bloody not be still on lockdown by that point. But by all doctors' reports that I can see, or medical advice, I should say, it's at least going to be some sort of variation on the social distancing measures we've got right now. So, yeah. I mean, at the bare minimum, you just have to have occasional fans dotted about, but I still don't see any of that happening for SummerSlam. So, yeah, like you said, I think they're just going to leave it down to the venue. Right, let's talk about Cody Rhodes getting his full name back. Of course, he's only really been known as Cody for the longest possible time, but he could be on the verge of finally getting his surname and therefore his sort of more well-known, let's say, wrestling name back. You see, of course, Cody Rhodes was owned by WWE, but now the AEW Executive Vice President, Cody, has filed a trademark to secure the rights to it. This is brought to you by Heel by Nature. He apparently filed that with the United States Patent and Trademark Office on the 13th of April, and he wants to use his old ring name for, unsurprisingly, entertainment in the nature of wrestling contests. I can't talk today, and more. WWE had owned that since filing a trademark for it on the 13th of October 2009. That expired on the 13th of October 2019, and the 6-month grace period ended on the 13th of April after WWE decided against filing for renewal. So they're not complete bastards.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been a really sour move for them to try and file for renewal on this thing. Good. I mean, this makes all the sense in the world. Brandy is Brandy Rhodes. Dustin is Dustin Rhodes. Cody at the moment is the odd one out in the family. Pharaoh is Pharaoh Rhodes, I guess. Yeah, I mean, I like the quote from him recently where he was like, you know what, I like how the American Nightmare Cody has become its own thing. I don't necessarily need to be Rhodes or whatever, but why wouldn't you file it, man, if it's available, if you're him, if you're in his situation? Even if he doesn't go back to using it full time, you want to own that name. It's the family legacy, baby. It makes all the sense in the world. Yeah, cool. Good for Cody. You know who's bad for Cody? Sorry, go ahead.
I've been calling him Cody Rhodes for quite some time, accidentally. So it's probably best.
I do it all the time.
I can actually officially call it him now.
I do it all the time as well. Avoid situations like that. File it, Cody. Help the brothers out. Help the content out. You know who doesn't generally help Cody out? MJF, right? MJF. what a man he is, right? So recently on social media, if you've been paying attention to his accounts, you'll have seen the other day he said something along the lines of, "I'm really sorry I haven't been on TV lately, but something awful has happened to me. I truly want to get back to performing, blah, blah, blah." And then a few days later, he was like, "Look, it's gotten worse. I might need surgery. I'm going to try and get back," and all this stuff. Well, he spoke about it on last night's Dynamite, didn't he? And it was just a lovely bit of trolling. This isn't really news, by the way. I just kind of wanted to talk about it. Promo last night, Dynamite. It came from Max's Rat's house in Cape Cod. He was teasing that something horrible had happened. He was speaking very seriously, very somber, very heavily. Said he had a life-threatening injury. That life-threatening injury was a hangnail suffered while throwing cash at a casino, but like a valiant warrior, he finished the game and he's gonna try and get back to the ring. He had a sling on. He had his pinky finger in a Burberry bandage like his scarf. Hey, he's just the best.
I mean, we all sort of knew this was coming. And when they announced on last night's show, we're gonna hear from MJF, I was like, oh, bloody hell. Please, let this be a work. Please. And then I saw him in the sling and I was like, oh, God. And then you git. I mean, I love him, so I can't really have a go. But a hangnail. Be careful out there. Don't try this at home.
Watch out for hangnails.
Try and cash at people.
Do you reckon this is going to set up for a big feud with Hangnail Page? No. that got the reaction it deserved. And now I have the illness. Good.
Right, let's move on to our Twitter questions. At WhatCulture WWE, of course, if you want to get in touch with us. First question today comes from Christopher Blade, who says, on Dynamite, Dustin Rhodes was said to be in the prime of his career. And I tend to agree that he is the best he's been in the ring. What are some other wrestlers who have put on some of their best matches at the age typically labelled the twilight of their career?
How about Chris Jericho? Like, the first Kenny Omega match just blew my wig off. As you can see, it still hasn't returned. And I don't think he's had a match that I've necessarily been disappointed in since he came back. And he's like pushing 50 and all this stuff. Jericho's a really good obvious one. Dustin's amazing. I love the Cody match. Ageless wonder for sure. Nick Bockwinkel. I'm really diving deep here, but he was like AWA champion when he was like 52 years old back in the territorial era, and he's like still putting on first class performances, and like he's one of the best promos of all time as well. I bet you didn't wake up and click on your news video and spend me to shout out Nick Bockwinkel today, but there we go.
I think the name that popped into my head for this, not necessarily was in the twilight of his career, he just defied all the odds, was of course DDP, because he started so late in professional wrestling, and he went on to do some incredible things and inexplicably stalk The Undertaker's wife. You know, we can't have it all good. Let's move on to second question today from Nick Van Haver, who says, what is one feud in pro wrestling that never happened that you would have loved to see? Personally, Nick says, I would have loved to see a feud between Raven and The Undertaker and or The Flock versus the Ministry of Darkness.
I hate to be cliche. I don't hate to be cliche, actually, but Sting versus The Undertaker, like when they were both at their kind of spooky heights, the best of their spooky ways, would have been amazing. Didn't happen for various reasons. I'm not sure I want to see it happen in 2020 or 2021, as has been rumored, now that they're both very old men, actually. But come to think of it, that would be a pretty cool cinematic match, wouldn't it? Like, that'd be a pretty cool variation on the buttons. I've talked myself into this. I want Sting the Undertaker.
Yeah, exactly. It could still be possible with that sort of thing. There's obvious ones, you know, the proper Stone Cold versus Hogan stuff that we could have potentially got around WrestleMania, but they put The Rock in there, and that went pretty well, to be fair. Yeah. Stone Cold versus Goldberg.
Battle of the Bolts.
In their primes. And just to do a sort of dream match one, maybe not necessarily for the match, but certainly for the promos, The Rock versus MJF.
Oh, brother. Yeah, that would have been some charisma flying all over the place, wouldn't it?
Final question today comes from everyone's favourite misfit, who says,
Legend.
Looking at the list of talent released last week, a lot of speculation of where some of them are going to end up. Should guys like Rusev and EC3 consider doing a purely independent wrestling run before signing anywhere to sort of rid the ex-WWE guy stigma. Yeah, a lot of people, Andy, assuming that obviously these guys, when wrestling all starts up again, are just going to immediately sign for Impact, MLW, AEW, of course. But do you reckon they should do some indie stuff first?
It depends on the wrestler, I think. I think a guy like Rusev, everyone would kind of universally point at and go, no, this guy's great. They just didn't use him properly. I don't think he necessarily has any stink he needs to wash off, because I think most people recognize that the dude is absolutely awesome, and that won't be a problem at all. EC3, perhaps. Well, I don't really see him as like a guy who's going to go and do like drive halfway across the country for a $200 paycheck and drive back in a shared car and all this stuff. It doesn't strike me as that kind of dude. I think he'll sign somewhere. Might be a thing that we see from the likes of Heath Slater, maybe. The Colognes. People like that. People of that ilk. Kurt Hawkins. Guys who, you know, are coming out of the company at close to an all-time low and do need to wash off that stink. But the bigger names, I think, will just go somewhere straight away.
Be interested to see if some of them just actively choose to do that, because, you know, they've been making the money regardless of what they were doing in WWE, and they might just want to get back to their roots with pro wrestling. So that could be very interesting. Keep an eye out for that. Right, let's move on to today's and finally. A lot of people suggesting EC3's recent Twitter post. Well worth going to check out what EC3 is up to on Twitter. He's being a character, that is for sure. But I could not, in all honesty, do today's and finally without referencing the fact that we found him, ladies and gentlemen. He was on Twitter all along. Mike Chioda, he's on Twitter. He tweeted yesterday, I want to say thanks to the WWE and to all my amazing WWE fans and universe. 35 years and 31 years refereeing, working for the WWE has been a fantastic run. I am so proud to have worked with so many icons and amazing talent in this industry. Lots of caps and exclamation marks in here. Thank you all. One love. Mike Chioda. If you want to go and follow him, that's at MJC Chioda on Twitter. Go and follow him. Go and spam his feed with my Sharona. And I'm just so happy that he's okay. He's happy. And we can finally shower him with the praise that he deserves.
Yeah, absolutely. Good to see Mike Chioda back in action. Good to see that we have a reason to bust the song out once more. Hope he signs somewhere, honestly. Hope he goes somewhere, because dude was with the company for a long, long time, and it would be a shame to see him leave the business entirely.
Exactly. A lot of people speculating on Rusev or whoever, Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson. Maybe they're going to become all elite. The one thing I want to see is something that Phil Chambers tweeted out a minute seemingly after Mike Chioda was released. Mike Chioda needs to be all elite. I'd be so happy.
Hell yeah.
But regardless of whatever he does, so happy that he is happy, and we can give him, as I said, the props that he deserves. Right, let us know your thoughts on that and all of today's news stories in the comments section below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And subscribe to WhatCulture Wrestling on either iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts from for daily wrestling podcasts. Myself and the Daddy Boys set to review the Wednesday Night War in just a few hours' time. And don't forget to join us 4 p.m. today, live here on YouTube, answering all of your important questions. You can let us know your thoughts and Twitter questions on Twitter, of course, at WhatCultureWWE. Watch there, follow both of us. You can follow Andy at
Andy H. Murray. The H stands for Chioda, which is Chioda without the C.
You can follow me at Adam Wilborn. Follow us all at WhatCultureWWE, as I said. But for now, my thanks to Andy Murray. Thank you for watching, and we will see you soon.